So, you've had a rough day. Maybe your boss yelled at you. Maybe your oat milk latte wasn't foamed right. But imagine waking up in a one-room hut, built from mud and sticks, with a roof full of bugs. The first thing you hear is a rooster outside, your wife coughing from the smoke, and your child peeing in a wooden bucket in the corner. Welcome to a day in the life of a medieval peasant. No dragons, no knights, just dirt, prayers, and more dirt. You ate barley. You prayed not to catch the plague. And you worked until your back gave out, usually by 35. Today, we'll walk through a typical day for your average peasant, from the moment they woke up in darkness to the moment they collapsed back into it. And no, they didn't have breakfast cereal or shoes that fit. Let's begin. It's 5 a.m. Not that you know what time it is. You don't own a clock. But the rooster is screaming again, so that means it's time to wake up. You open your eyes. The room is still dark. There are 6 people sleeping in the same space. The floor is dirt. There's straw under your back, and probably something moving in it. Best not to check. You sit up. Your body aches because you're 27 and you've already lived through a dozen winters, a famine. And that one time the Lord raised taxes for no reason. Outside, the air is cold. Inside, the air is smoky. You share your home with your wife, 3 children, a goat, and sometimes, if you're lucky, a chicken. You don't bathe. Not because you're lazy, but because there's no such thing as a hot shower. You splash some cold water on your face from a wooden bucket and pray it doesn't give you dysentery. Then, it's time to pray. You kneel beside the bed, or the pile of cloth you call a bed, and recite the morning prayers. Even if you don't understand Latin, even if you're not sure what you're saying, you pray, because that's what people do when they have no control over their lives. Breakfast? Oh yes. You get to enjoy a luxurious meal of stale bread and weak ale. Why ale? Because water is suspicious. It comes from rivers, and rivers have dead animals in them. Ale has been boiled. It's safer, and it gets the job done. Your teeth hurt. Or maybe one fell out. But there's no dentist. You'll chew with the other side. At around 6 a.m., it's time to head to the fields. You grab your wooden tools. Nothing sharp. Iron is expensive. And if you don't work today, you don't eat tomorrow. Also, the Lord expects His share of your harvest, even if the harvest is mostly rocks and disappointment. The children cry. Your wife sighs. The sun is rising. And you walk into the misty fields to do the same thing you did yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. By 8 a.m., you're already in the fields. You don't own this land, of course. It belongs to the local lord, who lives in a stone house with actual windows. You live in a mud hut with a door that doesn't close properly. You're what's called a serf. Not quite a slave, but definitely not free. You work the land, you pay taxes, and you do what you're told. In return, the Lord lets you stay alive. Today's task, harvesting barley. You bend, you cut, you gather, you sweat. Repeat. For hours. In the sun. No gloves, no sunscreen, no music. Just birds, insects, and your neighbor wheezing. It's hard work. And by hard, we mean back-breaking, blister-forming, soul-draining labor. But hey, it's either this or starving. Sometimes the village priest walks by. He reminds you to stay pious and donate to the church, which is funny because he's wearing silk and you're wearing a potato sack, basically. By mid-morning, you stop for a quick break. No, not for coffee. That hasn't been invented yet. You get to enjoy another bite of cold bread. If you're lucky, there's onion. If you're really lucky, a bit of cheese. Then, back to work. You chat with fellow peasants. Topics include how the weather ruined last year's crops, how the new taxes are absurd, and how old man Osric fell into the well again. You laugh, but not too much. Laughter is a sin if the priest is around. By noon, the sun is high. You're drenched in sweat. You have dirt in places that should never know dirt. There are no bathrooms, just the woods, which is awkward when your lord's hunting party rides by. At 2 p.m., your energy is fading, but you keep going because your labor is owed. The manor takes a cut of everything you grow. The church takes a tithe, 10% of your crops. What's left? Enough to survive if you're careful. And if rats don't find your storage. Sometimes a messenger arrives. There's war somewhere. Or the king has died. Or a new tax has been invented. None of it changes your day. You still have barley to cut. Around 4:30 p.m., your hands are raw. You gather the tools. You wipe your face. The work is done for today. But it never really ends. As you walk home, your legs ache, your arms burn, and your stomach is already planning dinner, which will be the same as lunch, except colder. You're finally home. If home is what we're calling a one-room hut with a thatched roof, a smoky fire, and a chicken nesting in the corner, the first thing you do? Take off your shoes. Not because it's polite, but because they're literally made of scraps and rope, and they hurt more than they help. Your wife is cooking something. It smells edible. Tonight's dinner, pottage, again. It's a thin stew made from vegetables, grains, and mystery flavor. Sometimes there's meat in it, but not often. Because you don't own animals. You are one of the animals, according to the law. You eat together as a family. No phones, no scrolling, just silence. Maybe a prayer. The kids argue over the biggest chunk of turnip. You sigh. Life is simple. Life is hard. Life is mostly turnips. After dinner, the village comes alive. Just a little. Someone plays a crude flute. A few neighbors gather outside. You exchange news, tell jokes, or complain about how bad things are. Just like every generation ever. There are no pubs, no taverns, no beer gardens, just a wooden bench and someone who knows 2 songs. Sometimes, the priest visits. He reminds you to confess your sins and avoid temptation. Then he flirts with your cousin. You nod politely. As the sun sets, the world grows darker. Literally. There are no street lamps, no candles, unless you're rich. Inside your hut, the fire flickers, casting strange shadows on the walls. You patch a hole in your tunic. You scratch at a flea bite. You check your grain storage for rats. There are rats. There are always rats. Night falls, and with it, a silence that's both peaceful and unsettling. You lie down on a pile of straw. It's itchy. It smells. It creaks. But it's the softest thing you'll feel all day. Your wife is already asleep. One child is coughing. Another is sleep-talking. The goat is somewhere in the corner. You hope it doesn't eat your boot again. You wrap yourself in a blanket, made of wool if you're lucky, or burlap if you're not. The fire has died down. The room is cold. The wind howls outside, and every sound makes you wonder, is that a wolf? A thief? Or just the wind? You hope it's the wind. There are no locks, no guards, only prayer and luck between you and whatever lurks in the dark. Sleep doesn't come easily. Your back hurts, your head aches. You think about the harvest, the taxes, the church. You wonder if your children will have a better life. Probably not. Eventually, your body gives up. Your eyes close, the world fades, and for a few short hours, you rest. Not because you want to, but because you must. Because tomorrow is the same. Eat, pray, work, repeat. So, that was a day in the life of a medieval peasant. Not a king, not a knight, not a noble, just an ordinary person, like 90% of the population, working from sunrise to sunset, eating the same thing every day, praying to survive the winter, and hoping rats don't eat the grain before the Lord takes his share. No glory, no quests, just dirt, duty, and repetition. But somehow, it worked. Peasants kept the world running, one harvest at a time. And without them, the castles would have crumbled, the churches would have emptied, and history would have had nothing to ignore. So next time someone says the Middle Ages were romantic, tell them about cold soup, sore feet, and church taxes. And if you're still awake, congratulations. You're either really interested or really sleepy. Either way, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and join us next time as we slowly explain history, one boring detail at a time.